Oh my God, welcome back to Nadyas Notes. So happy to see you here. Please like, please subscribe. Don't make me beg. I'm willing to beg for subscribers. Because I really want us to be monetizable and merchable, and for me to feel like I can create a Patreon account and buy me a coffee and feel like I'm not delusional. I deeply appreciate my 68 followers. I love you guys. I can't believe I just said that. As in, I deeply, deeply, deeply appreciate you, and I'm willing your best. You're good. Anyway, why do I have to caveat everything? Probably because I'm a scientist by training. It's really annoying. You become what you train for, and you really have to define everything. Otherwise, you're like, I don't understand what we're talking about. You kind of do, but you also don't, because if you're not defining your terms, and if you're not honing in on concepts, and you know exactly that you're speaking the same language, you can't move forward. I don't think you can even move forward in relationships like that. And in science, you'll just drown. What is science anyway? Oh, I wanted to talk about science. For a while now, science is just our attempt at understanding how the world is made. That's all. That's absolutely all. So when people are like, but science tells us and explains to us and demonstrates to us, and therefore it's true and right and indisputable, and yes. First of all, we're always modifying our conclusions, right? Second of all, science does not prove anything. For anyone that ever says the word science has proved, we do not prove. Because if we proved and then later found out that what we proved was incorrect, then it turns out that we didn't prove it. But then you wouldn't even look to change it because you proved it. Does that make sense? We disprove the hypothesis that there is no change, that there is no effect. So I wouldn't prove that this is bubble tea. This is not a really good example, but I can disprove that this glass is empty. I can disprove that this is coffee because I tasted it. I can disprove that those are, what could they be? Bugs. Anyway, and then what you are actually doing by disproving that this is coffee, you can then demonstrate with a certain accuracy, like 99% accuracy or higher, before it used to be 95, that this is tea, milk and tea. But actually, you always leave a little bit of room for error. We know in science that there's always error. There's always something for which we cannot account. That's why we cannot do it to 100%, and that's why we can never prove anything. But that is what makes us capable of doing science. Because do you remember, once upon a time, the only thing we knew was Newtonian physics. Like, if I drop this, it will fall. Okay, we can do the bag, right? If I push this, it will move. And then, lo and behold, when we try to understand, do the same principles apply to the heavenly bodies, like the moon and the stars, as they do to objects over here, and as they do to the little things that we cannot even see, no matter how close I get to you, we realize that something doesn't work. And based on those principles that we saw, that we talked about initially, right? And because we're always open to learning more and refining our understanding, we were able we were able to learn more. We're able to both hold what is currently true and search for a better explanation, okay? That's why when people are like, science and religion don't jive, that is not true, because they're talking about completely different things, okay? So religion talks about meaning. It talks about God. It talks about purpose. It talks about who we are, which is not what science does. Science just demonstrates, like, just because you have hemoglobin cells that carry oxygen around your body for you to stay alive, and then take away carbon dioxide and you like breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide, because that's how our bodies are made biologically. That's the system. That explains nothing about what you're doing here, okay? It is not even a question that science tries to answer, okay? The same way as studying viruses or discovering a virus from a bat, modifying that virus from gain of function, and then either deliberately or accidentally infecting the whole world is different than the effect it had on the world, right? The reasons for doing this, the meaning behind it, the same as birth is a biological process, so is gestation, growing a baby. But the experience you have with your baby after it's born is not just, a function of having grown a baby. You now have a little human that has come out and is independent, and you have to introduce to life, right? Like how pregnancy works, what the complications are, what the cell development is, what is the best way to give birth. Those are processes and are just about how things work here, right? And then the meaning behind it, like, why are you having a child? What do you get by interacting with that child? Why do we get together? Why do we romance each other? And you could say something and then call it science, like, oh, well, if a man romances a woman, she'll feel happier, then she'll stay. What about maybe a man wants to romance a woman? Maybe it's an inherent desire in him. Maybe that's how he feels fulfilled. And science has nothing to do with it. Like, science has nothing to do, like, let's use simple examples, because the moment you talk about humans, it gets complicated, because everyone has their own opinion. Science did not create gravity. Science has nothing to do with gravity. All science does, and all scientists do, are study this phenomena, right? Like, the same way as you did not create your romantic partner. You did not create your friends. You did not create your siblings. If you're a woman, you did create your children, but your ability to create them is not something that you created. It was already given to you. And then what you can do is treat them in a certain way, because you're so inclined, as to create meaning. I think I did rather well. Because I've been thinking of what content do I really want to deliver. And while I really enjoy the daily vlogging ramblings, I also feel like there are things that I've studied and that I know, which if I brought out to the world, could benefit people. So I feel very shy saying this inside, because I'm like, who do you think you are? Why do you think you know? Why do you think that you'll bring good to the world and not bad? You know, maybe my video answers this question. I cannot control how my message will be received and what the effect will be on somebody, right? Because let's say if someone is super damaged and you love them, you can't necessarily love them out of that damage unless they want to be loved out of the damage. But you can still have an impact. And I'm judging myself for the imperfect analogy. Stop judging yourself. You're doing good enough. Yeah, but what if good enough turns into complacency? What does one have to do with the other? It seems like it does, until I said it to you, and then it doesn't. Anyway, thank you for being here. Thank you for being with me at this stage in the creation of the channel, where we're experimenting and you're willing to tolerate my experiments or even enjoy them and support me and make me feel seen and heard by being my audience. I deeply appreciate that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. See you tomorrow. Mwah. Please like, please subscribe. Let's monetize. Let's be honest. Let's monetize. I like honesty. Subscribers are necessary for monetization. Why not just say it?